I like that.
Should we edit that because she's going?
No, it's alright. Nice.
You just don't see it every day. Who's got this in their house?
Nobody.
You know, got Freddy Krueger coming out. You know, we got, you know, mummy-like corpses and skeleton spiders. You know, there's madness everywhere.
It really is. You could just spend hours just looking around calmly.
If you zoom in on this Johnny Depp Alice in Wonderland toy, there again, it's all real clothing. The detail in his outfit is absolutely incredible. Absolutely a beautiful figure.
Oh, this is a
Farrah
nice one.
Fawcett.
Nice, that's cool. No, that's one I'd have, and I love Lucy.
Yep, Lucy.
I love her face.
Show you people, you know, what you have to look forward to if you want to spend the night at my house. You have to sleep with Reagan.
Brutal.
Because this is the guest room. She says 3 different things from the movie.
I just stepped on that baby.
Yep.
And that's how quick it can happen.
Yep.
That's what's crazy when you go to a collection like this, because you always got to remember, if you're at someone's house or at a collection, even a museum, I've heard stories, be careful, because look at that. It takes 1 second. This stuff is literally everywhere along the floor. And you know, I'm shooting the camera. I guess that's my excuse. But normally, you got alcohol involved. You got 3, 4, 5 people in this room. Everyone's vying for position to look at what is catching their eye. Someone is just bound to step on something. And that's what he's talking about. That's why he has to police the situation every time that he has these large parties. Now, does this stuff in your bedroom stay out for the whole year?
It does. I keep the stuff out in my bedroom year-round. I do bring some of the more valuable pieces in.
And fill in some holes, huh?
I squirrel in a few holes, and I just barrage it, you know, like nobody's business. You got to straighten out the plastics for some reason. You know, this is a trick you learn from Vince Myers, being an anal dick. But it really doesn't bother me at all.
It happens.
I've got an attitude that if nothing gets broken, it's all good.
Yep.
I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, you have this stuff to have fun and enjoy it. And
there we have some of those castles.
Yep, we have some of the castles that Mike is so into.
Those are ceramic.
He loves them.
Love them.
They are very cool.
It's my favorite series of anything. And there's tons of figures that they made. He doesn't have them displayed, but there's here's two more pieces.
Here's a couple. Those are some of my favorite. Those are some of the darker dragons.
Yeah, and see, there's an incredible amount, all different colors, sizes.
So again, just, you know, groups of Spider-Man and groups of X-Men and some villains mixed in. Here again, just a huge display of, you know, McFarlane, Spawn stuff. All different series. And then, you know, the Granddaddy. This is limited to 500 pieces worldwide. It's signed by Todd McFarlane. It's just an incredible piece. Just wicked detail. And there's some great pieces all around him. If you notice, there's just cool stuff coming at you, you know, ready to handle their business. So it's lots of creativity. It's lots of fun.
Balance.
And it's just, for me, it's just fun and positive energy. It's creative.
And it's tedious because, see, all these figures right here, they look like almost statues, but they're not. Most of them are figures. And if you have one leg off kilter and they're not balanced right, they'll fall.
They will.
And that's what's crazy. You have to have it balanced, because even if someone comes into the room a little top heavy and bounces the floor, if it's not set right, boom, you get this piece comes down, you got a domino effect.
Yeah.
So it's all, that's what he says, he goes mad. I can't imagine. And that's exactly what you fear, is the domino effect. One piece goes, you lose 4 more. How many times have you had that happen, where you drop one and boom, it goes to another, boom, and hits another?
It does happen.
Just the nightmare continues.
So, you know, you just have to be patient. You have to just take your time. You know, you always have to be aware. You know, so many people aren't in a situation like this with valuable stuff everywhere. You know, one elbow back, and you could do thousands of dollars of damage. So, you know, it's just a whole different frame of mind to be so aware of where you are in the room, what's behind you. People generally just don't pay any attention to that, and I do understand that, because they're just, you know,
they're not used to dealing with it.
They're not
ever.
collectors, and they're not used to. You don't see that every day.
No.
So we've got a graveyard. Went to the detail of actually having leaves and moss around the zombies coming up out of the ground. It's just a finishing touch that just makes it look so much cooler. And here again, Reagan's got a mind of her own. Her hair always gets caught like that, and it kind of bugs me, but you get a little snippet of something else she says.
My bed was shaking. I can't get to sleep.
The nightmare doesn't end.
This is mostly the spawn. I just basically call it the spawn area, because this is, you know, it's just, you know, a mad
action
grip
figures.
It's a mad grip of Spawn, is what it is. And Spawn is one of my favorite comic books, one of my favorite comic book superheroes. I'm sure a lot of you people know.
Yep, I'm familiar with it. I even have a couple of pieces in my collection. going to ask you a question, Bob. I got a couple scribbled down right here.
Okay.
As far as storing all these things that you have that we've gone through, if you were going to give advice to someone, a beginning collector that is storing, what is the best advice for storing your items that you can give?
Well, Mike, you know yourself. You're a collector yourself, and the best way to store this stuff is in Tupperware bins.
Yep.
They're waterproof, pretty condensation proof. But, you know, the best way for real valuable things is, you know, you need to repack it in the original box.
Yep, and then do you place that in something? Or you can't?
I just stack them. I'm just always curious to see what someone's favorite piece is. Do you have a favorite piece? Do you have a favorite thing or scene? And Skeletor's right up there for me. He's one of my rarest pieces. He's one of my fragilest pieces, and he is one of my most valuable pieces. Mike is getting in real close, so you're going to get a real good look at the detail. Again, you know, sculpted, hand-painted, signed, and numbered by an artist. That is, you know, museum quality piece of art. And one of my favorite things.
What is your overall plan for your collection? Obviously, we all can't live forever. There'll come a point where some of this stuff you'll have to part with on some level. Do you have a plan for your future with this massive, overwhelming collection?
Yeah, I mean, my hopes is that technology will advance to, you know, medicine and technology will advance to the point where I can get like a bionic heart or something. And I can, you know, I can live like biblical times, you know.
But if you
1,000
can,
years
you have to at some point. You have to sit there. I mean,
it gets rough. You do have to think about it. We are mortal. We do grow old. We do die. You know, I just lost my grandma, and she was in an assisted living place where she basically had, you know, 2 rooms. And I think to myself, okay, at some point, if I end up in a living situation like this, I only have 2 rooms. Well, obviously, you're going to grab the stuff that is absolutely nearest and dearest to your heart.
Okay, getting back here, since you're an expert at this, and horror movies are like your forte, my son, who is also a huge horror movie fan, even though I don't like him to watch his stuff, I think it's too violent, because he has autism and blah, blah, blah. We won't get into it. It's a little too late on some of this, but here's a question he's asking me about. Are you familiar with the movie, I know you are, Demonic Toys?
Yes.
Is there a figure of the Jack in the Box? Is there anything?
I think there is.
Do you know what his name is?
I don't, but all you'd have to do is go to the Full Moon website.
Yeah, okay.
And it would just, you know,
all right.
whatever they have.
And I'm familiar
available.
with Full Moon even. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're out there and you are into horror, of course, that name, I don't need to even mention it. It's just and if you don't know, that's a company that they specialize in statues, really high-end.
Really good B movies, you know, funny. It's funny
and they do
horror
Frankenstein
for the most
and stuff too, don't they?
I don't think they did.
They don't?
No.
Oh, Full Moon. I'm getting confused. What's the company that does the Boris Karloff, the big statues?
That's Universal.
Is it Sideshow, I'm thinking, maybe?
Sideshow,
Yep.
collectibles.
Yep.
But the rights for it all is Universal.
Do you have a favorite company that you buy their statues?
Sideshow is top of the line stuff.
Is it?
That's definitely top of the line collectibles.
So when you see that, you right away you like that, you want it if it's a character you're into.
For the most part, but it is expensive stuff, and you do come to the point where, you know, how many Jason statues do you need?
Yeah, and that's what we get back to earlier about mentioning it. So you find yourself cutting yourself off at some point because you're I got 20 Jason statues. I don't need another one.
I definitely do. The stuff is a good investment, especially the Sideshow collectibles.
Yeah.
They seem to just go up in value almost immediately.
Have you sold any of your high-end pieces ever?
I have not.
Have you ever sat there and thought, okay, I got 20 Jasons, but there's this new one out that's really badass. Maybe I could let 3 of these guys I'm not too in love with. Do you ever think like that, or no?
Well, most of the stuff is so cool and so high-end that it's going to hold its own no matter what they put out.
And be clear, he's not a dealer. He's not a seller. He's not online. He's not on eBay. He's not hustling. So he's not flipping this stuff. He is taking in for himself. This is all his collection. Okay, so here's a question. I know that in this series that we're presenting that you'll see somewhere in one of these clips here, maybe we can even tie this question into it. You mentioned that part of your joy, not part of it, but your joy and your passion is, number one, the presentation, setting it up each year. You said it's always different. You kind of always improving a bit, stepping it up, seeing how you can present it better. And that you love people's reaction, and that it's all about the fun of it, and that because you love it. This is fun to you, right, when you're doing it. And then you have these...
It is fun. It's very stressful, too, you know, having, 40, 50 people walking around your displays. Stuff does get broke.
Yeah.
We've talked about that a little bit more, so it is very stressful. I actually don't relax and have fun until the open house is down to about 10 to 15
That's
people.
interesting you say that you don't relax and have fun, because that's right where I'm going with this. Because that's where my question is leading. Is there ever been a time when you've been showing your... Do you have a favorite memory where you actually got... Where you was like, when you were showing your collection to somebody and their reaction was just what you always want, and you felt it was just it was great. It was a good vibe, and there was no pressure of things being broken, but you were showing the collection, maybe there was a group of people, maybe it was one person in particular, whether it was just them seeing it. Did you ever see someone's reaction where it's a favorite of yours? Is there a sweet moment that, when you just think for a second here, that reaches and grabs you, no matter what it was, little or big?
Yeah, I mean, nothing specific really comes to mind. It is fun. I will always ask, the open house goers what their favorite item in the house is.
Mm-hmm.
I always have that curiosity. I'm curious to know what each individual's favorite item is.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a favorite area. I will ask, and I am always curious of that. But no, not in particular. It's just fun to see people, enjoying themselves and enjoying the collection.
Do you know anyone that rivals your collection in town? Do you have a friend that you talk with, and you're like, oh, have you seen this figure, or have you seen this? Is there a guy on your level that you are friends with?
Well, there is a friend of mine, but he is a dealer.
All right.
So
it's hard to judge then.
I mean, he has all product that he resells.
He's flipping it.
But he does have, his private stuff, which
Yeah.
oddly enough is not displayed.
Yeah.
And I have never seen his collection because he's falls into the hoarder category, where you can't really
You can't even see it.
You can't even get through his house. It's just
box.
it's just boxes, rows and rows and walls and walls of boxes. But I know he's got a huge inventory.
Now you say he's a dealer and he's a collector, but so is he always trying to get items from you?
On occasion, we've done some trading.
Does he ever sit there? Is there like one piece where he's always hitting on you about going, yeah, you ready to let that one piece go? Do you get a lot of that every now and then, or?
Not particularly from him. I think, he just, he already acquired the pieces that he wanted. It just worked out. It was Star Trek stuff. I did have some. It didn't mean anything to me, and I ended up trading it for, Sin City stuff. Mm-hmm. Something I'm way more into. So it worked out well for both of us.
Do you have a piece in your collection that is your oldest piece and is just sacred to your heart?
Not particularly. The biggest memories is probably Skeletor from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But actually, those are a couple of pieces that, I had actually borrowed you, and they're gone.
That's what happens when you hang out with.
When you moved to California and that stuff disappeared.
Yeah, I'm sure it went right in the trash.
Yeah, that was some of the stuff. But it's you can reacquire it. No problem.
I guess I got to get him a Skeletor.
It was two of them.
Two Skeletors.
To keep the record straight.
I think I can actually pull that off. So yeah, we'll have to hook you up with two Skeletors. And if I remember, they had a ram's like cane in their hand. But yeah, we'll get you those. So your collection at home, that's where is that where your best stuff is? Around your bed?
That's all comic book superhero statues.
Is your highest end stuff next to your bed?
Not particularly. I mean,
Is your most prized piece next to your bed? Your most expensive piece?
Well, you know,
The one you almost want to guard?
Well, the one that, you know, we had talked about was Skeletor there again. The four
Plastic?
horsemen. No, the four horsemen statue on my.
Oh, all right.
On the coffee table.
Okay.
That is probably my favorite piece of my collection.
All right, and that's right by the bed.
Yeah, and that is at
That's
the
the
end
one
of
you're
bed.
guarding and has to be displayed.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
is that a new piece?
Nope, it's old. It's you know, I don't know, maybe 8 years old. Four Horsemen reissued a bunch of Masters of the Universe statues. Did a fabulous job with them. They're just beautifully done, and the detail is absolutely incredible. As you're watching the video, he did get some real good, you know, close-ups of the piece, so you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the stuff at the end of the bed.
So you all the collections that you had prior to what now dominates your collections, wicks and sticks things. You have lots of those. Those are stashed away. Do you have your pewter? Do you have your eagles? Do you have your those dolphins? Remember, I think you had some white dolphins.
Yeah.
Do you still have all that too?
I have a lot of it. You know, a lot of the dolphins and the elephants. I still do have some of that.
Yeah.
The wicks and sticks
Do you
is
have
all
eagles?
stockpiled. The eagles are all gone.
You did have those. You got rid of them.
Garage sales.
Oh.
Gave them away.
Did you?
Yeah.
Dirt cheap, huh?
Whoever wanted them,
Oh.
they could take them.
They were beautiful pieces.
They were nice
You're talking pieces that were this big. Out of what were they made out of? Porcelain?
Yeah, porcelain.
Beautiful, but I mean, one bump, maybe. Jesus, you hook a claw or something. All that's gone.
It's all gone. All the brass.
Yeah, well, you can see
You know, all the brass.
How many years
dolphins
ago
and-
did you get rid of that stuff?
A long time ago, 15 years ago. I just, you know, was digging through boxes and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I even have this stuff. And it was just immediately, if anybody in the family, any friends,
Yeah.
garage sales, it just all got dispersed, you know, as soon as I came across it.
Now, for the viewers out there that are maybe just starting out, maybe there's a kid somewhere, maybe there's an older person somewhere, someone that's starting out and they're like, oh man, this guy's collection is massive. Why would I even try to get into it? But yet they want to. What would be your recommendation for a young collector, young or old, but someone fresh into the scene, so they wouldn't make mistakes and maybe to start out? What would be the right way, maybe? What would be your advice to someone younger coming up that would want to get into what you're doing and loves what you're doing?
I would say just really put some thought into it before you start putting the cash on the counter. Mm-hmm. Really just look over different genres of collecting, whether it be horror or comic book, or if you want individual displays. As you've seen in my house, I have a display of the Matrix, I have a display of the Terminator, I have a display of Lord of the Rings. You know, that's a good way to get your feet into it. Just pick a genre, pick an specific area,
Focus.
and just focus on, you know, that one area, and then just see,
And
you
go
know,
from
how
there, eh?
yeah, just see how it works for, you know, your pocketbook, your storage space.
Because you're naturally going to progress. You're going to build, all of a sudden you're going to have a wall of what you, like you're saying, it's RoboCop. And if you love then you're just, it's going to peak out, and you're going to move on. You're going to keep adding and growing, right? But you say, your advice, you think, would be for someone to kind of just focus in the beginning into one little thing and kind of let it flower from there, right?
Yep, I would just focus on one specific collection, one specific area, and then just see how that works out. You know, if you have other people in your lives, you know, a mother, a father, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, husband, a wife, you know, this stuff is going to affect them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to affect their lives. And it can become an issue between you.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So,
because you have that, right?
I have an issue. You know, my mom hates this stuff.
Yep.
She thinks it's abnormal. You know, she literally has asked me in complete serious gesture, what is wrong with you?
Yep.
So, you know, it's hurtful.
Yep.
It's hard, you know, for, you know, to hear somebody you love say hurtful things about something you love. But on the same hand, you know, you have to understand. It's
affecting her, so she's got to have a reaction.
It's affecting her, and it's having a reaction.
Yeah.
So I do understand both, you know, points of view.
Yeah, that's huge. You know, that you would open up and share that. And let's face it, to anyone out there that maybe even has that issue, you also have to remember that usually the closest people in your circle are where you're going to get your most grief in life. It tends to be that way in relationships. You know, people hold it in all day long, and they come home and they usually will vent, let's face it, on who they love. So usually, you know, you're probably catching the blood end of her hard days and vice versa. And then, of course, you have your collection in there, so it's difficult. But it's functioning on some level, right? It has survived. The relationship is still there. You're still living there.
Yep.
You're there for her.
Yep.
The collection goes on.
Yep.
Now, if someone wanted to there's a time that you do show your collection. You can follow Bob. We'll give this shout out right now. We'll give Bob a plug. His name is Bob Worth, right? That's the title on Facebook?
Correct.
If someone's going to look him up, he's on Facebook. You can friend him there. What are the seasons that you will show your collection?
Fall will be the first open house as soon as the collection is displayed, and then.
So what are we talking? September? End of September? November?
Early November.
So if you were to contact, you can, number one, you can contact him. You can friend him on Facebook. And then you can watch out. That's when he does that each year. And when do you run that to? So about right now, right?
Till spring.
So just right in the winter there. If you're in Minnesota or coming to Minnesota, you can always set up a time to see his collection. Contact him through Facebook. And if Bob feels comfortable with the situation, I don't see why maybe you couldn't arrange something for someone to see your collection. Bob, is there any message that you want to get out there to a collector, to anyone that's going to see your collection? What is the message about who you are that you want to get across in this? Because they're going to see this collection and people are going to have different opinions. But number one, it's all about passion. This is pure to his heart, and that's what it's all about. This is not about money. He's not a dealer. He's not selling his items. He's buying it purely for the passion of it. He's dealing with the conflict that it arises with him and his mother because they don't agree all the times with all this, his collection, his passion, and yet he still does it because it's the one thing that gives him peace. So Bob, a message. I've told him how they can find you. I've shown your stuff. I think I've asked every kind of in-depth question I can for the moment. What do you want to say to the people? It's yours. Go ahead, speak into the camera.
I would say just have fun with it, and be careful that you don't become a slave to your collection. That's basically it. Just, have fun. Don't worry about, other people's, critiques and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Just do, life is short, it's fleeting. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah, you have to. Find your passion in life, no matter what it is, whether it's horror movies, whether it's collecting beer cans, whether it's playing football, whatever it is, that's it. Do you think that this has something to do with the philosophy, Bob, that I believe in and I subscribe to? Is I collect my heavy metal and stuff. I've never forgot that kid inside, because I believe once that, I heard somebody else say this. I'm just quoting actually Bruce Dickinson. I don't know if he stole it from someone, but here's the quote. Once you lose that kid inside, that child inside, it's over. A lot of people like to say, oh yeah, for a while there I was into something and then I grew out of it. This has been with you for a long time. So it's keeping that kid inside of you alive, right? Is that part of this?
I'm very young.
Keeping that youthful? That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Don't you think that pulls us through those stronger days?
I really do.
I mean, harder days?
Yeah. I mean, life is difficult. Life is a challenge. This is an escape. It's a passion. It's something that you can control. So many other aspects of friends and family members and people around you, you cannot control.
And this kid inside of you, by being able to go back to that, because it's always, pay the bills, do this. It's all serious, control in this world. By keeping that passion, whatever the hell it is in life, whether it's riding a horse or what Bob is doing, keeping that alive inside. And I read from somebody else, can't quote who, but it basically was, think back to when you were young. Because that's when you're your most pure. What gave you, what did you love then? And that should answer a lot of your questions. That may guide you in what direction you want to go on collecting. Bob, I actually think this is a great interview. And I think you guys are going to love it. I know. I think you've opened up immensely. And I really do appreciate it. I think that it was a real candid interview. And that's what I could have only asked for that. I didn't know if I'd get it, but I got it. And hey, you guys, Metal Mike, check back. more collections, more picking, more Rice Street, lots of videos. It's all about getting out there and living. Do your passion. Hey now!
Peace.